In this election, Tucker, it was a story between academia, Hollywood, celebrities, Silicon Valley, the media, the big banks, Wall Street, and who did Donald Trump have on his side? He had those people at the rallies, he had an outreach to minorities, he had talk radio, and that's about it. And so I'm very worried that a lot of people are gaining and using inordinate influence in a way that's really warping a constitutional system that's worked really well for 233 years. It's landslide, 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 and then when you don't get a landslide, it's, oh, you won't concede. Well, you won't concede because the votes haven't been counted.
There you go. Victor David Hanson on with Tucker last night. Right now, live with us, we've got Matt Walsh. He's a writer for the Daily Wire. Matt, good morning to you.
Morning.
What about to Victor's point? There was no landslide. Although we heard there's going to be a landslide, the Democrats might actually take the Senate. All those things never happened. What do you make of that narrative going up to November 3rd?
Yeah, well, I think I think his point was exactly right. That you go back throughout history, even up to a few decades ago, and you see all kinds of you see landslides that did happen in presidential elections. I think we're probably at a point now where that just doesn't happen anymore because the country is so polarized. And part of the reason for that is you've got this entire media mechanism to include big tech that's on one side and trying to keep those divisions there, and also lying to people and making them think that. I mean, and this is one of the reasons why people have concerns about things like voter fraud. It's because, on the left they have this view that Donald Trump is literally worse than Hitler, and they'll tell you that if you ask them. And so if that's the belief they have about the president, then you have to worry. If they're in charge of counting ballots, for example. How's that going to go when they think they're trying to get rid of literally Hitler? And that's the attitude that a lot of people have, and they've gotten that impression from the media. Of course, it's completely absurd.
Matt, Democrats are disappointed with losing those 5 House seats, and some centrist Democrats are saying that maybe it's time for change when it comes to leadership with Nancy Pelosi. They told The Hill this: it's time for Democrats to elevate a new generation of leadership in both the House and the Senate. Americans are clearly afraid of socialism, want safe streets and neighborhoods, to vote for people who they believe will help put more money in their pockets. What do you think about that? Is Nancy Pelosi, should she be nervous about her job?
I think so. I mean, I'm not one to give advice to Democrats. I don't think they would take it from me anyway. But I do think they probably do need new leadership. Only if they're talking about new leadership and younger leadership, if that means the squad, then I think that's probably the wrong way to go. That's one of the reasons why this election didn't turn into the landslide that they were expecting. I think is because what have they been selling over the last 4 years? They've been selling socialism, Marxism. They've been speaking to a coalition of media pundits, college professors, gender studies students, Black Lives Matter radicals. That's the coalition. That's the rhetoric they've been giving us. They haven't been talking to the interests and the concerns of just regular people and regular families. I think that's why they're seeing their broader coalition evaporate in front of their eyes.
Matt, absolutely. And like you said, you're not an expert on Democratic politics, but you do know behavior. I think the average American looked at Nancy Pelosi in the House. She lost 5 seats. She's planned on gaining 20, I think. And they said, you ripped up the State of the Union address. You sit there and say the president's not worth your time. Compare that to the way Paul Ryan handled himself. Republicans might want him to be tougher, but he had class. Nancy Pelosi has continually demonstrating a lack of class, and maybe even Democrats demand more. But let's talk about what the president's experiencing on a regular basis. Matt Walsh, your tweet, this tweet was censored, and here it is. It says, "This is reason enough to go to court." It's a quote tweet. No honest person can look at this and say it's normal and unconcerning, and at which time you put down some irregularities with the voting process. What happened to your tweet?
Yeah, Twitter censored it, so you can't. I guess you could still click through, take a couple steps so you can see it, but you can't like it, and you can retweet. You could quote tweet it, but you got to take a few steps to do that. And they've been doing this, not just to me. They've, of course, been doing it to the president. You look at his Twitter page, and it's just one censored tweet after another. And this is, my tweet was an opinion. It wasn't. I wasn't claiming to have information.
You're cutting and pasting.
Right. I was giving my opinion about the way that the election counting is going, and they're saying, no, you can't. That opinion is misinformation. What is it am I misinforming people of my own opinion? This, of course, is Twitter, as they've been doing. This is them making editorial decisions. This is them acting as editor-in-chief of social media.
Matt,
and if they're gonna do that, then they have to accept that they're publishers and not platforms.
And I just asked you this question: if Joe Biden was the one trying to get some justice or looking for problem, there was some irregularities in voting, and he had lost or on way to losing, and you did the same thing, do you think your tweet would have been blocked?
No, of course not. And we know, look, what has the left been saying? Amy Coney Barrett was appointed Supreme Court Justice through a completely legal and constitutional process. The left has been calling it, Nancy Pelosi has been calling that, she's an illegitimate Supreme Court Justice.
Oops.
There's no basis for that. It's total misinformation. Those people aren't being shut down on Twitter the way that, that I have been, the president has been.
Why do you patronize a big tech company like this when they continue to show a lack of respect for you? And the president should start. If the president takes his followers and goes somewhere else, that will be a tweet storm.
Yeah, I think so. But the problem is that, Facebook and Twitter, you're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies. And so it's not as simple as just making another Twitter or making another Facebook. They do have a monopoly right now, and so we have to contend with that.
Right. But MySpace was big, too, at one point.
A lot of people are going to Parler now.
All right. Matt Walsh, the Daily Wire relocated from California to Nashville. That's where he is today. Matt, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.